Hey, hi guys. This is a quick trailside review of my 2020 Merida 129 600. Why am I doing a review on a 2020 bike towards the end of 2021? Well, I've had the bike a while now. It's had plenty of use, and I think it deserves a bit of credit, and I think Merida bikes deserve a lot more coverage than what they get in the mountain bike world. I'm trailside at the moment in southern Australia, and I decided to stop now because I haven't hardly ridden for the last month due to copious government lockdowns, and we've had a heap of shit weather. So I'm just getting back into it, and I've stopped for a breather, surrounded by all the wildflowers that are coming out for spring, so I'll do this now. Anyway, the bike's a size medium, 2020 Merida 129 600 in grey. I really like the no-nonsense colour. It's just grey and black. There's no bullshit on it. There's no combi van bright colours like some other brands. There's no BMX bike teenager colours. The bike looks businesslike, and I really haven't changed much on it since I got it because it really hasn't needed it. What have I changed? Well, I've cut a little bit off the bars, probably, I don't know, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch either end, because out here the single track can be pretty tight and trees are pretty close together, and a few times I got tipped over. And they're wide enough for me now. What else have I changed? Max's forecasters 2.35s is what the bike came with. I actually like the forecasters, so I've had good luck with them on my last bike, which was a 2017 stump jumper 27.5. I set them up tubeless, which was pretty easy. Had no dramas there. Just taped up the rims and got some tubeless valves, which the bike doesn't come with. The front tyre is now a 2.6 dual compound, I think it is. I actually like the 2.6 a bit more. I'm a heavy rider. I'm 102 kilos without any gear. 2.6 gives me a little bit more volume. Chainring, I've changed it down, dropped a couple of teeth off that. It's now a 30 tooth. Again, I'm heavy. I'm 52 years old, and I like climbing. I just found that it just gave me a little bit of extra granny, and even when I'm not in the granny, it just seems to be a bit less fatiguing sitting in the sort of the middle of the cassette. Bike's got XT dual-sided pedals. I don't ride on flats. I don't really like them. I just don't feel secure on flats. I've changed the drivetrain because I had to. The bike came with SRAM NX, which I had GX on my last bike, the stump jumper, which was, it was okay. You know, I've had SRAM on quite a few bikes and never had an issue. The NX was kind of a bit floppy and a bit vague feeling. It worked, but it just didn't feel like it belonged on this bike. And I bent the rear derailleur slightly on a rock. There's plenty of those around here. And I decided to go with Shimano SLX on the rear derailleur, which, well, it's basically the same colour as the bike. And paired that with an XT shifter. I prefer the feel of the XT shifters. They're a bit more metallic feeling, not as plasticky feeling. And the XT shifter, it's worth paying a bit extra for that. It's not a lot extra, and it sits up fairly safe away from all the shit and the rocks and the sticks, of which we get a lot of out here. And it shifts a lot better than the NX ever did. I think the NX had a bit of a floppy B-screw on it. It just you know, it didn't feel tight or secure. In fact, with the Shimano, you can barely hear it change. It's just almost like a nice automatic gearbox when you change gears. 40mm stem, I've put a race face 40mm stem on it. The 50 was just a little bit too long for me. I had a size medium. I'm under 5'7". I've kind of longish legs for my height, but a shorter body. The 40mm stem, yeah, it's just nice and comfortable now. RockShox Sector fork. Yeah, it's okay for trail fork. It's a little bit sort of harsh on the bottom when you get in amongst high amplitude hits, stutters, all that sort of gear. I've had no dramas with it though. I've serviced it on a regular basis and it works fine. RockShox Deluxe rear shock. No dramas with that. You know, I get all the travel out of it I need, or all the travel out of it I can, and it never ever bottoms hard. The same with the fork. You know, I spent a bit of time getting it all set up properly for my weight and riding style. What you hear about these Meridas, that they do feel like they've got more travel than 120mm. That's true. The bike does feel very linear through its travel without ever, you know, bottoming out hard. And like I said, I'm 102 kilos, which is heavier than the average rider. Despite that, it does pedal very well. Very efficient. I virtually never lock the shock out. I just leave it open all the time. And I've had no dramas with the RockShox rear shock. The old basic Shimano brakes, whatever they are, I think they're about Dior level or whatever they're called nowadays. No one will be surprised when I say I've had no problems with those at all. Haven't had to touch them. I've had those sort of, you know, mid to lower level Shimano brakes before, and they've got a good reputation for a reason. You know, there's no mucking around with them. I've had no creaks, squeaks, knocks, clunks, clicks from any of the suspension or anywhere else on this bike, which is a bit unusual because I normally end up with something in a dual suspension bike, but not this one. The rims have stayed pretty straight. I think the back one's got a little bit of a buckle in it at the moment. Not a whole lot, it's to be expected. There's a lot of rocks around here. Not where I am at the moment because I'm in between single track sections. What else? Yeah, the paint job or anodizing, it looks like anodizing. I don't think it is. It's held up really well. Merida is, you know, they put this rubber or thin rubber foam or whatever it is on the down tube. Virtually no stone chips on it. Went out riding with a mate one day who had a brand new giant Trance, and there were two Meridas and one Trance, and the Trance came back covered in white stone chips through the paint, not a mark on the Meridas. I think they're better value for bike than giant. I think they actually look better. Yeah, so I think it's been great value for money. It was about 3,200 Australian dollars without pedals. We've now got, what, 3 others, 2021 Merida 129 600s in our group, and a 700. They've all been really good. The current year have the Marzocchi Z2 on it, which is a slightly chunkier fork, and everyone's been happy with those. Most of the guys are, you know, in the 80s, up around 100 kilos. They're all heavy, older guys that go pretty hard and bash over things. No one's had any dramas. Yeah. So overall, I think the Merida is a great value for money. You will read some reviews, you know, that say that the geometry is a bit old school. You know, not low enough, not slack enough, all that sort of gear. Yeah. If you want a bike that's going to cover rolling terrain, like I don't know, you'd call it aggressive cross country or just, well, yeah, just trail riding, which is what I do. I just ride trails. Don't listen to that too much. The bike will climb well, descend well. Obviously, you know, if you're one of those guys that is going to shuttle up to the top of things and ride descents, and you're more into rolling downhill and jumping and all that sort of gear, you might want something a little bit slacker. But for aggressive cross-country riding, trail riding, I wouldn't listen to that at all. Yeah, I've had bikes that are lower and slacker, and in the rocky terrain all you do is bash pedals. In fact, on my Stumpy, which was a 150mm bike, I actually smashed 2 or 3 pedals to pieces bashing over rocks. The Stumpy was a 150mm bike, was actually really good pedal fine, but the bottom bracket was just stupidly low. I've bashed pedals a few times on this out here because it's kind of unavoidable out here. There's some really rocky sections you'll see in some other videos. But yeah, it doesn't sort of take me by surprise. I bash pedals kind of where you'd expect to bash pedals, and I don't bash pedals over little shit that you wouldn't notice like I have on other bikes that have been lower. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what they come out with for 2022, assuming there is a 2022, with what's going on in the world at the moment. If you're looking for a bike, mountain bike, for trail riding, yeah, have a look at the Meridas. I reckon they're great.